Dwayne.
Good to see you, brother.
The Rock, the final boss, Johnson. Who am
The
I
Will.
talking with? Who am I talking with? Dwayne, the final boss?
All the above. It all depends on the question.
All right. I'm looking how far the drop is. If I
Welcome,
meet
man. I'm
the
so happy you're here.
Man, I'm really happy to talk to you. I'm glad that we managed to put this together. Part
Yes.
2 from our conversation.
That's right.
From the Stock
New York Stock Exchange. Yeah, it's good to see you.
And I brought something for us.
You did. You came prepared, man. You bought the Terramana. Can I pop that open?
You pour. I'll put the ice in.
Some ice. We'll make it nice and ceremonial.
I'm a tequila guy, by the way. We have more in common. Oh, I went with me first.
You did. Selfish.
More?
A little bit more. Thank you, man.
Boom.
All right. Here we go. So you're a tequila man. You'll appreciate the Terramana tequila. This is our añejo expression. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I wanted to create a legacy brand who wound up shattering all records of not only tequila, but also in the spirit industry. So I got a lot of good people behind that brand and its quality.
You got your hand in so many things at this point. You are WWE, you're of course a movie star. You're now UFL, which seems to be going great.
Yeah, we had a great opening weekend. UFL, that's the combination of leagues, the XFL, USFL. Fox is part of our ownership team now. We had a great opening weekend. We were up 70% from last year, XFL and USFL combined. So like with anything that I do, the UFL serves as just the opportunity to create opportunities for players to live out their dreams. And I think we might have talked about this before in the past. My dream was playing the NFL.
Right.
That never happened. If I was a little bit better, and maybe if I didn't have a fanny pack and a bad haircut, maybe I would have made it. But that whole UFL is designed just to create opportunities for players.
You know, you go into a conversation or an interview like this, and you think, okay, I'm going to go from here to here to here. And then I throw it out the window and say, I'm just going to follow my curiosity.
Great.
So, first of all, cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Really happy to see you again.
Good to see you. That's good.
It's really good. So, from tequila to the UFL to WWE.
Yes.
I think about this sometimes, Dwayne, like, when this whole thing is said and done, and it's over, and not to be morbid, but they write the obituary.
Yes.
Like, what is it you want? I think about this myself. Do I want it to say television personality, journalist? What do I want them to say? What is it you want it to say about this life?
That he did all that he could do to live it to the fullest, and he did his best to take care of his family and protect his family and be a good dad and a good guy and take care of people and run at the opportunity to work hard and build something. But also what I've learned down the road after a lot of these is bring everybody with you, and how important that is too as well. So I know I just said a lot. I don't know if all that'll fit in the obituary, but it's that.
Well, we're men, and I think I've been talking about this a lot recently on the Cain Show. Like, destruction is easy. There's a lot of destruction going on in America. Creation is hard. And obviously you're very interested in building, in creating. Everything's centered around The Rock, around Dwayne Johnson. Yeah. We're men, we're built to think in terms of legacy. What is the legacy?
The legacy is helping everyone who I'm able to touch and come in contact with, and even possibly the ones who I don't. But the legacy is helping them reach the potential that I was really lucky enough that I continue to try to tap into for myself as well. You hear that quote, and it's funny because you almost like manifest it, and I find this quote coming back to me in at certain times in my life, which is people won't remember, I think, what you said or something else. I'm going to butcher the quote now, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that's important to me. And as I go down the road of life and we start to think about, as men, legacy, we start to think about what our calling is and what our why is and what our North Star is, and how it continues to change as we go down the road.
I think you're on to something, and it is, you do a lot of things in your life, and in that pursuit of ambition or building something, at some point you look up and you say, how much of this was about me?
Yes.
And I think I know where you are, what you're alluding to, and I think I'm there. It's like, in the end, it isn't going to be about me.
Right.
It's going to be about what I can do for others. And I'll have to ask myself every step of the way, what position am I in to best serve others? Yes,
absolutely. And I love that when we start to explore that, because I feel like just as guys and as dudes, you know, as we come from teenagers, 20s, 30s, you're still trying to find yourself. You think you have all the answers. You really don't know. Even you reach the 4th level in life, a lot of us are still trying to figure it out. You reach your 5th level, hopefully you've gotten to a place now where you got some things figured out and you got a little bit of clarity. But I got to tell you, the idea of bringing everybody with you is something that speaks to my core, and it's really been gnawing at my bone marrow for the past couple of years, because I've reached this point in my career. Man, I'm a lucky guy. I'm a lucky SOB. I like to say I work hard, but I believe in luck, and it all kind of converges and dovetails. The luckier you get, the harder you work, the luckier you tend to be. But I realize that, man, if I reached a point in my career where I am lucky enough to say, hey, here's a mountaintop, and I'm kind of sitting on top of it at what I do, and I'm very lucky. I got to be careful how you say that, right? You can come across as like an asshole, excuse my language, but when you're on top, I realize, okay, if I'm in this position, a few things could happen. Either I could just ride off into the sunset, or I could stay where I'm at, or I could look to something else and say, hey, let's go over there and let's build New Mountain. But the key that's been gnawing at my gut is, but I can't do it alone, and I don't want to do it alone, but let's bring everybody with us.
And what's the point in climbing that mountain? I mean, the point I'm getting at is you have to ask yourself that, because you've accomplished, I mean, to be honest, for the gratification of Dwayne Johnson's ego, you've pretty much accomplished almost everything imaginable. So the point is, why do I climb that next mountain? And the focus then is, well, because it's about somebody more than Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, and also I feel like it's in the DNA. You know, you want to go do more, and I got 2 hands that are capable, and I like to put in the work with my own 2 hands. But I also like to say is, let's go do it together. And if I come up, then I want everybody to come up. And if I'm not coming up, I want you to come up, and I want other people to come up, and I'm going to be right there rooting you on. I believe in that.
Well, I want to talk about what those mountains might be, both here at WrestleMania and in America. But I actually want to ask you this first. So you're an incredibly charming guy. I mean, you're naturally likable. And I think that's both a compliment and a little bit of an insult. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's an insult. Because I think likability can become a currency, and you can almost become addicted to it. It's a little bit of a poison. I've seen it in my business. I saw it in sports. I see it in politics. If you're always pursuing and seeking people liking you, then who are you but for the potential reflection of what they want you to be?
That's right.
So I want to ask you this. What is it that you believe that is important to you, no matter its popularity?
To be real, and to be direct, and to be open, and to be transparent. And as you and I have talked about, if you ask me a direct question, I'm always going to give you a direct answer, whatever it is. And that's important to me. And authenticity, we hear that word a lot, but that's important to me. And I feel like, and I mean, we could go down the well here, but there's, in today's easy cancel culture world, and cancel culture, woke culture, this culture, that culture, division, etc., that really bugs me. And in the spirit of that, you either succumb and be what you think other people want you to be, or you go, well, no, that's not who I am. I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to be real. If you ask me something, a real answer is important, and the truthful answer is important, and that may get people upset, it may piss people off, and that's okay.
Well, that's what we've only been able to hang out together twice, but I can sense this. I appreciate this desire to be authentic. It's got to, by the way, that's got to be hard for you, not because it's unnatural, but because A, you're a huge celebrity, and you're surrounded by people telling you whatever you do is great or right or good.
Right.
Or on the alternative, Dwayne, you've got people waiting for you to say something controversial to tell you how awful you are.
That's right.
So it's really hard
even
for
if
you
it's
to be
not
authentic.
controversial, by the way, they'll make it controversial.
Yeah.
But would you say it was hard to
And
be?
I think that just puts extra pressure and makes it more difficult for you to be authentic.
Yeah, but it just comes with a game, I think. It comes with the position that I'm in. But it took me some time to recognize that. At first, I was, in a way, adverse to fame, and I didn't understand the power of it, how it could swing both ways. And finally, as I got down the road a little bit and started achieving some notoriety, a little bit of success here and there, I start to realize, oh man, this is a superpower. The fame is a superpower when used correctly, I believe, when you could use it to influence people and also use it to influence other people in terms of, again, being direct and being honest.
So let's be direct, let's be honest. There was a time that you used your fame, and it was a time that not everybody was happy. And that was a few years ago.
That's right.
And you made a very big point. You said, I've never done this before. I've never endorsed a political candidate.
That's right.
And you endorsed Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And I'm being real with you, and you're being real with me.
Sure.
A lot of people on Fox watching us, you and I talk right now, remember that and wonder about that. So how do you feel now in retrospect with that endorsement?
In what way?
Are you happy that you made that endorsement in 2020? Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no. I'm not going to do that, because what I realized, and I didn't realize it back then, Will, but I realize it today. And back then, just like I am today, very lucky, I was then the most followed American man in the world, and I am today the most followed American man in the world, and I appreciate that. But I also realized that what that caused back then was something that tears me up in my guts back then and now, which is division. And that got me. And I didn't realize it then. I just thought, hey, our country feels like there's a lot of unrest. It feels like I would like things to calm down. Maybe we need a change. This is what I'm going to do, and this is who I'm going to endorse. The takeaway after that, months and months and months, I started to realize, like, oh man, that caused an incredible amount of division in our country. So I realize now, going into this election, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do that, because my goal is to bring our country together. I believe in that in my DNA. So in the spirit of that, there's going to be no endorsement. Not that I'm afraid of it at all, but it's just I realize that this level of influence, I'm going to keep my politics to myself, and I think it's between me and the ballot box. But I will tell you this, while like a lot of us out there, not trusting of all politicians, I do trust the American people, and I trust that whoever they vote for, that's going to be my president, and that's who I'm going to support 100%.
I trust, by the way, I feel the exact same way. I trust Americans.
Yes.
No matter the state of this country, no matter its political leadership, I inherently trust the moral backbone, the culture that is uniquely American. And I appreciate that. In the spirit of avoiding divisiveness and honoring unity, you do not want to endorse someone in 2024. We talked about that mountaintop, though.
Sure.
Okay, and you and I on the floor of the stock exchange talked about this.
Yes. Well, let me ask you something really quickly, because
please,
again, would you endorse? Will you endorse? Like, how do you feel about that? Because you're in a position too, as well, where you're influential.
Now he's putting me on the spot. I've never answered this question. You know, Dwayne, I've never formally endorsed.
But I love our flow. That's the thing. So
I've never done that. I've never formally endorsed someone, and I don't know why. It's no secret. Anybody watching will know which ways I lean and who I lean against and who I lean for. And I'll be honest with you or anybody else, the way I've voted every single time. But a little bit, I've always considered the ballot box as private. I mean, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem telling you or America, I will vote for Donald Trump.
Sure.
But I don't know about it. I've just never made a point of my endorsement. And that was a big moment. And that's why I wanted to ask you about today. It was a big moment for you.
Yes.
As you mentioned, you're very influential. To the point of this, we talked about it. Mm-hmm. You running for president. People talk about it. You've talked about it.
Yes.
So, you're not going to make an endorsement in 24.
Right.
I assume what?
As I break out more.
I
knew this question was coming.
Are you going to ever seriously run for president? Answer that question seriously, consider it seriously, and make that mountaintop run for president.
As of now, no. That's not my intention. Will, I'm not a politician. I'm not into politics. I care deeply about our country. I'm a patriot, and I believe you are too, as well. And right now, my desire and my priorities are my babies and school drop-offs and pickups and things like that. That's important to me because I also have a 22-year-old who I like to say we grew up together. And I know what it's like to be in a business. At that time, I was a full-time professional wrestler on the road over 300 dates a year. And I missed a lot of her growing up. And I understand what that is if you become president and how all that goes away. And I don't want that to go away. And I also feel like in the spirit of bringing people together and bringing our country together, I don't know if that's the right move at this point. Possible. I don't know. So truth is,
as of now, you said.
As of now.
I mean, this is what I asked you about.
As I bring another drink.
This is legacy. Is there something to serve others outside yourself? Is that a potential mountain? Is that something that you said as of now, 2028?
It always is, Will, and I got to tell you, we might have talked about this either on or off camera last time we were together, is, man, my family was evicted out of Hawaii when I was 14 years old. We couldn't pay the rent, and we were gone. We were kicked off the island. And from that kid to then not knowing where I was going to live, winding up in Nashville, and then going up to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and kind of all over the place. From that kid to a good amount of Americans feel like I would do a decent job of becoming president. It's still very surreal to me. And I'm honored by that. And this idea of legacy, building New Mountain, more than yourself, bringing our country together. Right now, my main priority is being a daddy and continuing to build these other things, but also, again, being in the position I am, just like you said, my trust, unequivocal, is with the American people. And whoever they decide to make president, then again, that's my president, that's our president, and we're going to support it.
Let's talk about family. It's a great transition back into wrestling.
Yeah.
We were just talking off air about the Von Erichs. And
yes.
You are inducting, is it your grandmother
yes.
into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yes.
And your daughter Ava
yes.
is entering this business as well?
Yes.
It's so fast. You said to me, I don't remember if it was on camera or off camera as well, said, my life would have been Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler.
That's right.
It's a hard life.
Yes.
And yet you see this cycle, whether or not it's your family or the Von Erichs or the Flairs, several families, this becomes who they are. Why is that? If it's so hard, why does it become family?
Because it's in your DNA, and I think it's in your bone marrow. And and as big and as global and as scaled up as we can see as professional wrestling is, and WWE and WrestleMania, it's still at its core this unique one-of-one culture. And in this, you grew up in Dallas. I did a lot of my growing up in Dallas, where my dad and my grandfather and my grandmother used to work for Fritz Von Erich. For those of you who don't know, it's the famous Von Erichs in the world of professional wrestling. So I love this business of pro wrestling. I'm third generation, and I'm honored to induct my grandmother into the Hall of Fame. So and for our viewers out there who don't know, my grandfather was the High Chief Peter Maivia, used to wrestle for Vince McMahon's dad in the 70s when it was WWF.
Yeah.
And now my grandfather passed away. It was his dream to have a successful wrestling promotion in Hawaii. It failed. My grandmother, while he was on his deathbed, said, I'm going to take the business over, and I want to do my best to make this a success for you. She did. She became the first successful female promoter in the world of professional wrestling. And as you know, and as everybody at home knows, professional wrestling, male-dominated, especially back then.
Right.
And she came in and she promoted, I like to say that she's the Griselda Blanco of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And but now I have an honor to induct her into the Hall of Fame, and I can't wait. And I have a daughter who's 22. She is with WWE as well. She's fourth generation, and there's no business like professional wrestling, which, by the way, Will, is why I come back to it. Do I have to? I don't have to, certainly not for money. Luckily, thank you. But it's because I love it.
Okay, let's talk about you coming back. Not exactly the way it was originally envisioned. You know, the heel turn, the bad guy, The Rock. This is not, I imagine, how it was planned.
No, not at all. The original plan was for me to come back as the babyface, the big babyface, come back and face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship and put on here in Philadelphia the biggest main event of all time. I believe the qualities of a good leader, not to say that I'm a good leader, but I believe the qualities of a good leader is one who has the ability to pivot, but also make sure that you listen to the people. And as I came back, I started to realize that while fans love the idea of The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, there was also this other storyline building that they had been invested in for a couple of years with a guy named Cody Rhodes, who wrestling royalty. Dusty Rhodes is his dad. Dustin Rhodes is his brother. And one of two things could have happened in that moment, and this happened in January. We could have either kept trucking through. I'm a director of the board. I got a little bit of influence here in the WWE. We could have kept trucking through. Or the thing that bugged me, I was in Hawaii, and I realized, man, there's a segment of fans here who are just disappointed. And that it hurt my heart to think that, well, I don't want to truck through and leave these fans disappointed. But not only that, you also got a guy in Cody Rhodes who's been working his ass off for years now. And This is his story. And who, by the way, Cody, as we speak very openly here, could not be a better human being. Amazing, understood, I get it. I understand the position we're in. Rock, you and Roman, biggest ever. I'm here for it and I support you. And that's a big deal for somebody to say, especially in our crazy world of egocentric professional wrestling. So back in January, I called Nick Khan, our friend, and I said, I have an idea. How about this? Why don't we take care of the people, give them this story of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns? And Nick said, great. And I said, however, a little bit of a twist. He said, what's that? I said, what if I became the greatest bad guy of all time? And that was the attempt and the intention.
Have you had this bad guy lurking in the background all the
Well,
time?
it has been lurking. You know, by the way. You know. It has been lurking. Allow me to do that, please. It has been lurking. It has been lurking for some time
Have
now.
you had you couldn't have had the final boss because that's directly, obviously, connected to your new position. But
Yes.
have you had this character in there?
Oh, for years, by the way, because if you think about it, it's nice to be considered, we'll call the Babe Ruth of professional wrestling. It's nice to be considered the good guy, the big baby face, the hero who comes in and saves the day. But also, again, when you think about authenticity, as we talked about earlier in the interview, and I realized I woke up in Hawaii. It all happens in Hawaii, by the way.
Yeah.
That's where
a lot of self-reflection.
A lot of self-reflection happens in Hawaii, a lot of the mana. And I woke up and I went, God, what if I became a bad guy and then I was able to not be pretzeled and be freer and be visceral and be open and talk, and excuse my language, but say, I won't even curse because I've been getting in trouble a lot. I want to. Yeah, I will. Say the shit. Say the shit that everyone wants to say, but they can't say. Let me do that.
Dwayne, I had a boss at ESPN. I got to work with the investigative unit, the E60 unit, the outside the lines unit, and I had him tell me, you know, Luke Skywalker's not interesting.
That's
Darth
right.
Vader is interesting.
That's right.
Seth Curry's not interesting. Draymond Green is interesting.
Wow.
People love villains.
Yes.
And
Well,
now
you know,
here you are,
well, by the way, the final boss, the spirit of the final boss, it's so funny you bring that up, is Darth Vader.
Yeah.
That's the spirit of the final boss.
So let me ask you two questions on this, though. So
Yeah.
it's almost it's a continuous thread to our conversation, whether or not it's politics or something we're going to talk about in just a moment, Maui, or this lead up to WrestleMania. You are very attentive to the fans. You are very attentive to the feedback.
Always.
But doesn't there have to be, do you feel there's this balance you have to strike? Like you, Nick, WWE, you responded to the fans in this Cody roast, and I appreciate what you said about Cody as an individual.
Yes.
But I wonder sometimes, is it right to gauge the public? And the answer I think sometimes is yes, and the answer is other times
That's
no,
right.
it's here.
That's right.
And so I just wonder how you balance that, listening
Sure.
versus knowing.
Sure. Great question. I think you got your finger on the pulse. You'd like to keep your finger on the pulse of what people want, the public wants. It's important to absorb all that information, but it's also, as you said, important to, you got to go with your gut and you got to listen to that voice that's behind your ribcage that's talking to you. In this case, now there are times, whether it's in the vertical of pro wrestling or if we wanted to create this product or whatever it is, where you got to go with your gut and let's swing for the fences, and we believe this is the right choice. You've made that choice throughout your career too as well. I'm going with my gut, this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm going. In a case like this in pro wrestling, there was something intrinsically off and unaligned if I didn't listen to this segment of fans, because at the end of the day, this whole thing here, I used to wrestle in flea markets for $40 a match, where the promoter would say, hey, will you cut your forehead with razor blades tonight? Like, that's how crazy it was back then. Every once in a while I did. For an additional $5, and free Waffle House is what I did. Yeah. But there's a time where you really have to listen. And in this case, again, we could have trucked through, but why do that? So I feel like we had an opportunity here to look at this situation, whether it's in wrestling or anything. The way I look at it, I usually look at scenarios like this, like it's a 2 to 4 lane highway. How can we make it into a 10? And we can make it into a 10-lane highway by listening and then absorbing that information and letting it inform us how we make that decision.
Hey, speaking of Waffle House, here's something I wanted to ask you. Training for a movie, to be a movie star, even that's not this.
No.
It's been 8 years.
Yes.
I mean, what's the training been like?
So thank you for asking that, by the way, because it's the one thing that people, and I understand, they get caught up in the pomp and circumstance of wrestling and it's WrestleMania and the cachet of it. They forget, or I'm sorry, it's not that they forget, it's just, it's not our lead foot to show. The training has kicked my ass for weeks now. I went into a full training camp for about this is my final week, obviously. We have WrestleMania in a day or two. And the training camp has been tough. There is nothing that you can do to prepare your body to be suplexed and slammed and thrown around in that ring. Nothing. And, I'm no spring chicken. I'm a summer rooster. I'm no spring chicken. So I've had some great guys who have been helping me throughout my training camp. So it's a combination, Will, of training camp, training hard, getting my cardio right, getting my oxygen right. I have to control my breathing in this match. We could go, without giving too much away, we could go an hour.
Oh, don't you have the record of already an hour-long fight?
I have an hour long. Yeah, I don't know if it's a record, but I do have. Are you
teasing you're going to beat that hour?
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you got to prepare. But also, unlike all these other sports, with professional wrestling, you don't want to go, you can't practice full tilt. You got to be careful. So you have to take it maybe 25, 50% right up until.
Will you give me a day? How many times a day are you working out right now?
I'm working out 3 times a day. I get up in the morning. So my day looks like this. I get up super early in the morning. I like to beat the sun up because I have this odd relationship with the sun that I have to beat it before it gets up. So, which basically means I need
maybe as president you can address daylight savings.
I'm going to fix that, by the way. If I ever become president, I'm going to fix daylight savings.
Just keep it. I like long evenings.
You like long evenings.
I want to keep. By the way, Hawaii, one of the 2 states that do not do daylight savings.
They don't do that, right? They got it right.
Let's just make our days as long as possible.
I want to make our days and our sunlight as long as possible.
Yes. All right, so you beat the sun, you're up, you're working out.
We're going to take inventory. If I ever become president, then you let me know some of the stuff that needs to be. So my day, I get up in the morning, I do my cardio in the morning on an empty stomach, then I'll get some work done, then I'll eat breakfast, I'll eat a little bit of lunch, then I'll go back and train again on the weights, do cardio again, and then in the spirit of WrestleMania, I go do my in-ring work. And that's where it gets tough. Again, you don't want to get hurt. There is no other movement in the world, in any other sport that is like that in pro wrestling. So the training camp has been tough. I think we have created a great, compelling storyline. I think that we've raised the bar, and I've been really happy with it. And by the way, I got to tell you this. The thing that's been really gratifying, Will, 2 things. Number one, the fans and the embracing of the final boss, this version, this Rock 10.0 version, but also all the guys and girls in the locker room. Because I do come in, admittedly, I'm a disruptive spirit. I like to disrupt things when I come in, and I like to raise all the ships with the tide. But the locker room has been really tremendous. So.
I'm glad you addressed it. I was curious about that because you're now, you're the director of the board and you're also one of the guys in the locker room. Are you done working out today?
I have one more tonight. Yeah, I know.
That's not going to be a problem?
That's how I do it.
Huh?
Why
really?
is that? That's not a problem.
2 tequilas and you're going to be back in the gym?
Not
3.
Not in an hour. Well, I'm going to be 4 in a second.
Okay, a few more quick questions on wrestling. So, listen, I was watching recently. And by the way, my wrestling fandom has come, gone, come. It's, I'm an adult. It's gone different ways.
Of course, yes.
By the way, it's coming.
But you are coming to WrestleMania,
yeah,
right?
Yes. I'm on the way up.
That's right.
But I was watching recently. Yeah. Humility is also part of a sales pitch.
What can I say except you're welcome? Go ahead.
No, and this is going to say, I don't give you extra. I don't give anyone. Okay, I used to have this beautiful Doberman. I lived in Central Park. I lived in Upper West Side. I'd walk him in Central Park. He was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Got him in Hawaii, Maui Humane Society.
Oh, nice.
People would say, oh, he's gorgeous. I would not return the compliment if their dog wasn't pretty, okay? So when I give you this, it's not gratuitous.
Okay.
You got on the mic, it's a different level.
Yeah.
You're a different level.
Thank you.
Who besides you is on your level when it comes to working the mic in wrestling?
Let's see. You know what, Will? There's that guy, no one.
I think I just met the final boss.
That's right. Final boss answer is no one. No, there's a few guys I think who are great on the mic. I feel like CM Punk is great on the mic. I feel like Cody Rhodes is great on the mic too as well. Seth Rollins, our guy's great on the mic. Paul Heyman, another guy's great on the mic. I will tell you that as you, a longtime fan of wrestling, me too as well, and I grew up in the world of wrestling. What made, I believe, the wrestlers of the 70s and 80s have this unique style is that in their promos there was this belief, because it was a fact and it was true, that if you didn't get over, if you didn't get over on the microphone, you weren't going to eat, you weren't going to pay your bills. Like, it was just that simple. So when you look back on those guys in the 70s and in the 80s, Roddy Piper and Randy Savage was another one. Hulk Hogan was another. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, the son of a plumber. These guys got over on the microphone because their life literally depended on it. And when you come from that kind of hunger, you speak in a different way. And it's not that it's missing these days, it's just the way of the culture and it's the way of the business model is the energy and the intensity and the vitriol is just different when guys speak on the mic today. Because
Necessity's the mother of invention.
Exactly.
You do nothing better than when it's all on the line.
When it's all, you get what I'm saying, you know? Like, for example, those guys in the 80s, Dusty Rhodes, a Ric Flair, a Jimmy Superfly Snuka, like these guys were, like you felt like, I think something bad is going to happen at Madison Square Garden. I need to go down there.
This feels authentic.
It feels authentic, yes.
Best path to a title fight for The Rock. Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns?
You really put me on the spot there. Both. I think both, for sure. And well, you know, right? You see it. Here's the thing. You just, with our world of pro wrestling, you start to stand things up on its feet. And again, great leader, not saying that I am, but quality leadership is seeing and being able to pivot and being flexible. So as we move forward with the storyline, this interesting thing has started to develop between The Rock and Cody Rhodes. This interesting thing could happen and develop between The Rock and Roman Reigns. I speak of myself in the third person. Tequila talking.
Don't lie, you've been doing that sober.
I have. I have been. That's how I talk at home.
All right, well, we'll be watching whichever way it goes. Let's bring in Nick Khan, president of WWE. Let's start with this. First of all, Nick, look at this.
Yes.
What is it, 13 straight, like, record-selling sellouts
Yes.
for WWE? Why is it going so well?
Couple things. I think, and Dwayne and I have talked about this many times, every great macro transaction is a result of 1,000 great micro transactions. So assume the Bloodline story hits, Cody Rhodes hits, Triple H and his creative, and then, oh, by the way, the greatest of all time, certainly one of the greatest of all time in our sport, Dwayne Johnson, returns in ring as a surprise January 1, and boom, that puts it over the top. So if you look at the record gates, if you look at the record revenue, if you look at the record attendance, it's all because of everyone at WWE other than me. They're the ones who put in the work. They're the ones who put in the work.
So good at humility.
And we're the ones who
He
get the
set it up, man, and then he undercut it.
It's all true.
Well, I just want to say he obviously is a big influence and a big reason why this whole thing is happening.
Well, I've never been, and both of you guys have made it happen, that I'll be here on Sunday of this WrestleMania. And I've never been. As much as we talk about my history with wrestling, it's through the television screen.
Yes.
I've never been. What can I expect? I assume my seats are really good, that I'm going to be right down there. And what can I expect? Like, what's this going to be like?
Well, listen, we've gone over the final seating, so you know, we have you where you would want to be.
Oh, thank you.
So just know that. That's number one. Number two, what can you expect? Look, Dwayne and I have discussed this also a number of times. Wrestling is theater for those who couldn't or can't get to Broadway. So from your childhood, I'm not saying now, we know you're very rich, powerful, go to Broadway whenever you want. But I'm saying when the three of us were watching it as children, think about it. And Dwayne, it may have been different because your dad was on the road, this and that. I didn't go to New York until I was in law school. I didn't have a passport until I was in my mid-20s, never went outside of the country. But I went to his grandmother's wrestling shows in Hawaii as a kid, and it was theater in front of you. It was the unimaginable happening. So I think what you're going to see Saturday and Sunday, WrestleMania 40 from Philadelphia, 7 p.m. Eastern start time, in case anyone didn't know that, on Peacock in the United States, what you're going to see is the theater of the unexpected, and that's the best sort of theater in my mind.
So this week, leading up to this event, I had Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knox County, Cain,
Yes.
on my show, and we got into this. I want to put this to both of you guys. There is something about wrestling that seems to strike at the core of, quite honestly, everything. Politics, movies, it's babyface and heel, it's good guys and bad guys. It's almost as though if you distill everything down, you get to wrestling. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why is wrestling kind of, you talked about it, Dwayne, a moment ago, like it's so quintessentially unique and in that way American.
Yes.
But it's also like politics wrestling,
Yes.
movies wrestling, everything is WWE.
Yes. Professional wrestling is at its core the most American you can get. And at the end of the day, I always like to say, Nick and I have said this too, when you strip it all away, it all comes down to the raw core idea that there's good versus evil, There's baby faces versus heels, and it's a storyline, and eventually the talking is done, the rhetoric, whatever that may be, politics, sports, whatever it is, ultimately you gotta come in and you gotta settle it. And then it's in that settling that people will gather and they will get an idea.
I would add to that, you two were talking about Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and what you learned at ESPN. At the end of the day, even if you look at the last 25 years of scripted television, the characters who have resonated most, The Sopranos, Tony Soprano, I believe it was Vic Mackey from The Shield, the gentleman from Breaking Bad, people who are doing things that inherently you believe you're not supposed to like, but you love those characters.
But you understand.
You understand.
Yes.
And you understand at the end of the day, certain decisions are made in life, in business, in the wrestling ring that might not be the best or most thoughtful or sweetest decision, but it's a decision that had to be done. Even if you look at the final boss character, what seems to be resonating, some of the lines Dwayne has said in character as a final boss, it didn't have to be this way. That means we could have gone the easy way, but others chose to go the hard way. It didn't have to be that way. And now I'm going to show you what the hard way is. That's life. That's life. And that's what we think resonates with our fans.
It didn't have to be this way, but now it's the only way.
You can use that if you like.
You're welcome.
Right
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't have to be this way, but now it's the only way. I cannot raise one eyebrow.
There you go.
No, but Nick, it is. I don't know. It's the quintessential. It's the distilled element
Yes.
of not just entertainment, of in many ways human interaction.
But also, Will, it's in a way it's like in politics too as well, and not to connect the dots too much to that, but it's saying the stuff that the American people want to say, and they can't say it. Final boss can say it. We can say it. We could say it in the ring. Some politicians can say it too as well. So it's that too as well when you distill it down.
By the way, on that anti-hero front, Will Cain at ESPN. You want to ask him how Will Cain ends up at ESPN?
How?
That's how Will Cain ends up at ESPN.
Really?
Yeah, that's really.
No, I just played
I'm not surprised.
Here's
I'm
what
not
I'll
surprised.
say. Will is extremely talented. He had big
Go on.
ambitions. He had big. Not only are you a handsome man, but you're powerful. That's from Pretty Woman. No one cares about that movie here. I see. Okay, we'll move on from that. Listen, Will was ambitious. He was talented. He knew sports inside out. I also thought at that moment in time, and I know it's what Will thought, he was an outsider in the media world who wanted to get to the inside, not by changing who he was, but if you look at what he was able to accomplish in getting into that world with his opinions, which were not the majority voiced opinion at that time. If you look, Dwayne, at what you were able to accomplish, for people who are on the outside, who want to get to the inside because you've struggled financially, you don't have the things that you'd like for your loved ones to have, there's a bit of a chip on one shoulder. Yeah. And I'm not sure that chip ever went away for you, which is a great thing. I'm not sure it ever went away for Dwayne, which is a great thing. It's a thing in the morning that wakes you up before the sun.
That's right. That's right. But by the way, it's like what we were talking about earlier with just that authenticity part and how you make decisions. People may think that I want to make a decision based on this thing, but I got to do it for me. And that's what I was talking about earlier about your own career. You had shared that with me.
And I think that's honestly your audience.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I don't pretend to know the WWE's audience the way that you two guys do, but I think this is outsiders looking to see inside. And I can't speak for Dwayne, but one thing I can say about being on the inside is then all you do is say, I don't want to be an insider. I made my way in, perhaps, to your analogy, Nick, but now I want to make sure I am in touch, like we talked about, with outside.
Yes. Yeah.
You can't become one of the elite who are now inside. You've got to be someone who understands the people.
Finger on the pulse, man. Finger on the pulse. And by the way, easy at times to get lost in that, right? And become the inside and get lost in that. But finger on the pulse.
All right, I want to talk about Maui for a second. All three of us care about Maui. We just talked about Hawaii. Dwayne, last time we talked, you just told me your fund, the People's Fund, has come to its fruition?
It's come to its fruition, and at the end of this month, or last month, in the month of March,
We've delivered over $60 million to over 8,000 survivors. And I know what Hawaii means to you and to you as well. We all grew up in Hawaii. So I'm very, very proud of that and very, very grateful.
The timing is incredible. This week, our fund, which we raised through the generosity of not just Fox News viewers, but Americans, $2.6 million, 210 families, $12,000 grants.
Wow.
Comes to a conclusion this week.
Oh, beautiful.
Hey,
cheers. Let me.
Again.
Let me do it.
Again. Hey, to be honest, Dwayne, that conversation, we never poured a Nick one.
Listen, I'm working here, so thank you.
To Hawaii. To Maui.
To Maui.
To Maui.
That thing we were talking about earlier, something more for others. This is one of the most meaningful things I've ever done in my career.
Yes, by the way, and me too, by the way. We've been lucky boys to be able to get to do what we do, and it broke our hearts that happened in Maui, of course, because we all grew up there in Hawaii, you in Maui specifically, so I know what it means to you, but it's been the most gratifying thing, because you go back home, and I always go back home to Hawaii. We're just there with our girls again a couple of months ago, and when you meet survivors, it's a whole different conversation that you have, unlike anything, we've talked about this, unlike anything you've ever experienced, because you realize not only the enormity of their pain, but also you have an opportunity just to help just a little and get them back on their feet.
Can I tell one quick story about that?
Yeah, please.
So, and both of you know this story, but for the audience at home, I get a call from Will Cain a few days ago, and he said, hey, I don't mean to ask for anything, but I just want to make you aware of a situation. There's a boxing gym in Lahaina that burned down. And this is the gym that the local kids would go to and train. And as everybody knows, boxing gyms typically keep people out of trouble.
Yes.
And, they lost all of their equipment, and, I've been trying to figure out a way to get them what they need. And I think I said some version of, stop, give me 5 minutes, I'll call you right back. I called Dwayne, picked up, and I said, hey, Will called and said this and that. Dwayne said, let's take care of it. Let's get it done.
Easy.
He said, you should call Dana White, because as you might imagine in the wrestling business, we don't have a lot of boxing bags and double end bags and all of these things. I called Dana White, he picks up, and I said, hey, good friend of ours, Will Cain, called boxing gym, and the UFC had donated also a considerable amount of money to the Lahaina folks, which was amazing work by then, continued amazing work by then. I said to Dana, the boxing gym needs a couple things, X, Y, and Z. He said, how many things are they looking for? I read the list. He's like, we'll send it right now from the UFC. And boom, I believe it's, it takes a moment to get there, but that's on its way. And that was because of your good work. And that's about caring the people other than yourself.
Yes.
That's of no direct benefit to you. That's, hey, there's some kids out there who could use a boxing gym, and you got that done.
And you flipped this table on me. That's not how this was supposed to go. I'm supposed to
I'm just speaking the facts.
No, but true, it's true.
All I did is care and know some people in Lahaina, and I turned to Nick, and I said, Nick, this is the situation. Exactly as you described. You cut me off. You called Dwayne, you called Dana, you had it done in moments. You're going to help out Lahaina directly.
You're going to help them out.
Yes.
And I want to share this with you guys. So it's called Contending for the Kingdom. And it's a great man named Dusty Raynone. And faith-based man, bringing these kids up the right way. And he sent you guys that. We can just take a moment, you just hit play. And that's to both of you, so you can watch.
Hey, I just wanted to give a shout out, a special thanks. Thank you guys for your guys' heart. Thank you guys for what you guys do for Lahaina Town. I just wanted to put this thing together so that we can move forward as a community, as well as encourage our brothers and sisters, as well as the kids, to strive forward. You know what I mean? Because Lahaina will be rebuilt. Lahaina is going to be stronger than ever. But I wanted to give a special shout out to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Thank you, Uso. Thank you for what you do, as well as WWE president and owner Nick Khan. Thank you guys so much, as well as UFC President Dana White. I'd like to give you a shout out and special thanks to you guys. The kids are going to be grateful for what you guys are doing. We're going to get this boxing ministry going, contending for the kingdom. That's what we're doing, making kingdom builders in this community, in this town, in this nation. Thank you guys so much. Aloha.
Aloha, brother.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's real Lahaina Town. You can hear it in the accent.
Wow, kingdom builders.
So you've done
beautiful.
so much, man. Lastly, how does it make you feel? How does it make you feel to give back to a place that you love so much?
Just grateful that I'm in a position where I can do something. Grateful that I'm in a position that we can talk about it, and we're able to do something like that. You know, look, Hawaii, it's my people. It's Polynesian people. It's our people. We're local boys there in Hawaii, and what it means to us. But also, you know, my ancestors are buried there in those mountains in Diamond Head, and my grandfather's there, and my uncles and my grandmother's there, and my mom wants to be buried there. We just had the conversation. So it means, it breaks my heart that it happened, but at the end of the day, we all do what we can do to take care of our people. So $60 million, dollars, 8,000 survivors, playing our part in their way of getting back up on their feet. And for life, I'm there. A son of Hawaii and a son of Samoa and a son of Polynesian Islands. So grateful.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the time you've given me today.
Thank you
for everything, both of you, on what you're doing for Lahaina. I appreciate you both very much.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Thanks, Will. Good to see you.